The debate rages on in the Pantheon Rise of the Fallen community about even just the possibility that the game could eventually have a cash shop. In my last video, producer Brendyn clarified under what circumstances they would consider a cash shop, and whether or not investment opportunities might affect that. So if you haven't already watched that, please go do that now and then come back here because that's really important context. But in this video, creative director Joppa Perkins weighs in on the effect that store-bought cosmetics would have on player prestige. As always, if you don't want to miss any Pantheon development updates, hit the subscribe button now because that's exactly what this channel is dedicated to. I'm not affiliated with the project, I've just been following it for a long time, so I like to take what I learn and condense it down just to make it easier for you to track the project as well. Some people may say, what's the big deal? Why so much fuss over cosmetics? They don't have any impact on gameplay. Well, I think anytime you're trying to have a productive discussion, it's important to start off by defining the terms of what you're actually talking about. So when I say cosmetics, I'm mostly referring to armor skins, since I think that's probably what most people associate with the word. There are lots of other types of quote-unquote cosmetics that have less of an impact on gameplay, like housing items, vanity pets, fireworks, etc. But when it comes to being able to pay real money for something that allows you to make an item you're wearing with stats look like a completely different item, that's when it starts to have an impact on gameplay. In my last video, Brendyn mentioned that if they do need to eventually add a cash shop, then they might also add a toggle switch so you can choose whether or not you want to see the cosmetics that other people are wearing. That seems like a decent compromise at first, but I really think the issue is even deeper than that. In that same video, I briefly mentioned how item appearance really does matter since there's a lot of incentive to work hard to earn cool looking items that are recognizable and help you stand out in the community. For example, if there's only one sword in the whole game that has a flaming particle effect animation, and it's really powerful and hard to get, that is quickly going to become a recognizable and desirable item. What I mean by that is that if you're lucky enough to own one, there's no doubt that you'll then attract a lot of attention among players in the community when you're walking around town, and you'll get random people sending you tells asking you how you got it, etc., etc., and maybe you even make some new friends that way, but you'll definitely make other people want to put in the time and effort to get that item so that they can be as cool as you. That sort of thing has happened in many MMOs in the past, and it's an important aspect of the social atmosphere that Pantheon is aiming for, and therefore one part of what motivates people to keep playing over longer periods of time. The desire to have a unique and accomplished look taps into a primal part of your brain, so if there's an opportunity for people to simply buy a sweet appearance rather than working for it, it has the potential to somewhat decrease the longevity of the game because most people would rather do that than actually work longer to get a real item that has a cool appearance. Especially since the real earned items that have cool appearances would then stand out less and be less recognizable to some degree, because for everyone that has cosmetic items toggle on, there would be that many more people who are pretty much seeing cool looking items everywhere, so they're less likely to be in awe of that epic flaming sword you worked so hard for. That specifically is what I'm referring to when I say that while a toggle switch might help some, it would still detract from this important social aspect of the game, assuming there are items in this hypothetical cash shop that allow you to change the appearance of worn items. But speaking of which, that brings us to creative director Joppa Perkins, who recently stopped into the Pantheon community Discord channel to reaffirm the commitment to item identity in Pantheon. Quote, if you go back and listen to our past streams, you'll probably hear me gushing about EverQuest item identity and prestige more than anyone else. So it should be understood that if we ever do have a cosmetic shop, it would need to be designed in a way that doesn't harm that. which is a challenge for sure since I'm not aware of any cosmetic shop integrations that would be able to uphold that kind of thing, end quote. He adds, quote, "Not impossible, just challenging. I am not against a wardrobe system that is designed in a way that does not compromise our goals for item identity and prestige. If I put in the time and effort to slay Sleepless and loot a sword that I love, I have earned that item. If I love the way it looks and want to use that skin when I ride into town, I can get behind a player's choice and incentive to do that. I also think players having a toggle where they can see the true look of what other players have equipped is a right all players should have. What I said earlier is that this kind of system is not currently planned. That does not mean we won't revisit down the line at a more appropriate point in development," end quote. I should also mention that I think when most people hear the term cash shop, they have these visions of a worst case scenario where everyone's running around in these crazy chicken suits riding on hoverboards. But knowing Joppa myself, I can confidently say that there's no way, as long as he's the creative director, that he would approve of any appearances that are not appropriate within the high fantasy theme. Lore has always been the source of all design decisions in Pantheon, and again, as long as he's in charge, I just don't see that changing. But anyway, it's pretty reassuring to hear that item prestige would still be a priority even if there are cash shop cosmetics. Although I would also agree with Joppa in that, as I was saying earlier, it at least seems like a contradictory concept. But again, this is all hypothetical as they don't even know if they would need to have a cash shop. And if they did, it probably won't be anytime soon. But I still hope it doesn't even come to that at all. Moving the genre away from its addiction to microtransactions will start with one game refusing to go along with that and still being successful. Again, that's a lot easier said than done because MMOs get more expensive to make each year, but the average subscription cost of around $15 a month hasn't really changed in the past 20 years. So a subscription fee alone may not always be enough to keep the lights on. Cash shops are a proven and easy solution to that, but obviously more and more people are getting sick of that model. So coming up with an alternative will take a lot of creativity and business sense. I've seen a surprising amount of people suggest simply increasing the subscription cost if more revenue is needed. And while that makes some sense on the surface, it likely wouldn't be quite that straightforward. Because $15 a month has been the industry standard for so long, it might be off-putting to those who haven't heard about Pantheon before, and might actually see that as a barrier to entry. Even the late Visionary Realms founder Brad McQuaid, who was an advocate for the subscription model, said, quote, "The plan is for regular servers at least to charge $15 a month. I think it would be foolish for us to proclaim, we are a premium MMO and therefore we are going to charge everyone more. I do like the idea of being thought of as a premium MMO developer, but I think we have to earn that respect first," end quote. On Reddit, I proposed a hybrid model where players have an option as to which type of server they want to play on. For example, for a $15 a month subscription, players would have access to the basic servers where there is a cosmetics-only cash shop that doesn't infringe on item identity. Although in this model, it might actually make sense to not have a toggle switch to turn cosmetics on or off, so everyone on those servers is viewing the cosmetics. Because for 25 or 30 or some other amount per month, players would have access to the basic servers and special servers where there is no cash shop whatsoever. I'm not an expert on the technical viability of implementing something like this, but I think it would be possible, and I think it would solve the problem by giving the players a choice as to what type of experience they want to have. If you're not bothered by cosmetics, or you even like cosmetics, you can do that. But if cash shops are a total deal breaker for you, you can still enjoy Pantheon in its purest form, independent of cosmetics. You would just have to pay a higher monthly fee to compensate for the development costs and such. I'd be curious to hear your out-of-the-box ideas for other monetization models, or at least what they could sell in a cash shop that would have zero impact on item appearance and gameplay, if that time comes. I'm hoping we can then put this topic to rest for a while. Again, this isn't an imminent issue since the devs aren't actively considering it right now. it may end up not being an issue at all, and if it is, it'll be further down the line, at which point we can revisit it with more information at the time. But for now, there's a lot other more exciting things going on with Pantheon's development. So until my next video, stay curious and adventure on.